There was a man who often found himself awake in the dead of night, not so much by choice, but by a certain ache in his chest that refused to be silenced. The room was a sanctuary of shadows, and the only sound was the hollow echo of his own thoughts. He had tried to speak to something, to someone beyond the ceiling. A quiet prayer, a whispered question. "Are you there? Do you understand?" But each word he released into the stillness seemed to dissolve into nothing. The silence wasn't empty. It felt like a profound, intentional absence. It was a silence that, with each passing night, grew into a heavy, suffocating doubt. He started to believe his voice was too mundane, his struggles too common to merit a response, that maybe the divine conversation was reserved for the articulate, the righteous, or the miraculously important. And so, he stopped trying, convinced that his faith was just a monologue in an empty room. One evening, while sifting through old, forgotten things, his fingers brushed against a folded piece of paper, a scrap of memory from another time. Unfolding it revealed a single, scrawled sentence. "You can talk to God, not because He listens, but because He already heard." He stared at the faded ink, the words a paradox that bypassed his intellect and struck him somewhere deeper. He sank to the floor, leaning against the cool wall, and in the space of that quiet room, he spoke for the first time in ages, not with grand theological certainty, but with a raw, broken whisper. "God, I'm here. Do you still hear me?" No grand pronouncement answered him, no audible voice, but his silence was broken not by a sound, but by a cascade of tears. And in that moment of surrender, a feeling washed over him, not of a presence beside him, but of a presence that had been there all along. He had always believed that prayer was about constructing the perfect argument, finding the right combination of words to persuade the heavens. But he discovered the truth in the silence. God understands the unspoken, the weary pause, the intake of breath that catches in your throat, the cry of the heart that never finds its way to the tongue. This man didn't deliver a powerful plea. He offered his simple, honest state of being, and that changed everything. After that night, his conversations with God no longer felt like a performance. He spoke to Him while walking down a busy street, while watching the sun rise, while the tap water ran over his hands. He knew now that even if no one else listened to his words, his silent self was already known. Perhaps his story is a mirror for our own. Maybe we too have grown weary of a faith that feels like shouting into the void. But the truth remains. Your story isn't just about the words you speak. It's about the very breath you take in the dark. And in that raw, imperfect honesty, you are already heard.